All right, so today we're going to look at our guided practice. Okay, this is page 10 in our textbook or on module F of the file folder, if that's what you're looking at online. All right, now the guided practice number one, all right, it wants us to find each sum in this section, right? Now, this is for just numbers one and two. Now, when we look at this, we have -5 plus -1. Okay, -5 plus -1. So here we want to make counters for each number, right? That represent each number. We want counters that represent the -5 and counters that represent the -1. So for -5, these are our counters that they have for us, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negative counters right there for -5. And we also have to make one for the -1, right? That represents -1. And that's this one here, just 1. So from here, we can answer A, B, and C. So let's look at letter A. How many counters are there? All right, so we're just looking at counters, not signs, counters, right? How many counters are going to be left? So we have in total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 counters, right? And looking at letter or part B, it says, do the counters represent positive or negative numbers? Well, in this case, they represent negative, right? And if you feel like writing the word negative, then you can, or you can just put the little negative sign. That's okay with me. So by looking at this, we know there are 6 negative counters, which means -5 plus -1 is -6, right? So that would be our answer for this equation. Now, that wasn't the only way I showed you, right? Or the only way you learned. In our previous video, or the first video, we learned based on like little tally marks, right? Because that's another way you can do this. Doesn't have to be little chips or, the counters and stuff like that, but we still have the same equation here, right? -5 plus a -1. And then I'll just set like a little T-chart, right? I have my positives on one side, negatives on the other. Okay, so now let's look. I have a -5. So that's going to go in the negative side, right? We're going to put 5 marks for the 5 inside the negative part. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So that takes care of my -5. Now I want to look at the next number that we're adding, which is -1, right? So -1 isn't going to go in the positive because it's a negative number, correct? So we want to add that over here to the negative side. So from here, we're done with all our numbers. We've already marked everything, and we have none over here. There are 0 positive numbers or tally marks, right? So that means I don't have to worry about anything on this side. I'm done on the positive side. So I just want to count how many marks I have on the negative side. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 6 total negative tally marks, right? And they're negative, so I know it's -6. So our answer is -6, right? So on your own, you're going to try number 2, and we'll go ahead and jump ahead to the next example problem that we'll be doing, okay? All right, so we're moving on to the next section in this page, on page 10 still, right? So in this next section, they want us to use the number line to find the sum of each equation. All right, sum meaning the answer to an addition problem, right? So for number 3, we have -5 plus -2. Okay, now with our number line already made here for us, and they're using the horizontal number line, okay, we want to start at 0, right? We're going to start at 0, and we're going to let the first number tell us which way to go. If it's negative, we go left. If it's positive, we go right. So remember that. Negative is left, positive is to the right. So the first number is -5, right? -5. So this tells us we need to go left 5 units, right? And that takes us to -5, right? So we have -5 right here. Now, from there, we look at our next number. We're adding -2, so that means we're going to get more negative, right? We want to move 2 more spaces, 2 more units, and that represents our -2, right? So we went to the left 2 more units since it was -2. Now from here, we have no more numbers. There aren't any more numbers for us to keep adding. So we're at -7. That's where we stopped, right? So our answer is -7. Now, if you notice, I use the little bracket marks to um, move my numbers back, right? To count my units backwards. I don't have to use those, right? I don't have to do it that way. I can just jump, right? And I'm going to show you another way to move back to -7 to get our answer, right? So we start at 0 again. Okay, so I'm going to be here, and I want to go back 5 units, right? I'm going to move to the left 5 units since it's negative. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? This takes us back our -5 units. Now, obviously, we still had 2 more units to move, right? So I'm going to go 1, 2. And that takes us to the same spot, right? The -2 and -5, when we add them together, gives us -7. All right, so either way you do it on your number line, that is okay with me. All right, I hope you guys understand this a little well. We'll go over it in class, right? And we'll have a few more practice problems to do in class. But before I let you go, we're going to jump to the next section and do one more example problem, and then you guys can go ahead and get after your work. All right. All right, so we're on the last example of this video, okay? We're on number 9 on page 10. In this section, they want us to find each sum, right? Sum meaning the answer to an addition problem. So number 9, we have -5 plus -4, okay? From here, I can use the absolute value method, right? They're both a negative. We're adding them together. So I can take the absolute values of both and then combine them, right? Like we did before. So the absolute value, just in case you forgot, it is the distance or units from 0. Okay, so how far is -5 from 0? Well, it's only 5 units away, right? -4 is 4 units away. So they're both positive now, right? Whenever you get an absolute value, it's always positive because distances are always positive. Okay. Now from here, we can just add them together. 5 plus 4 makes it an easy equation. We get 9, right? But 9's not technically our answer because both numbers are negative, right? So really, the answer is -9 because we have to keep that sign, right? It has to stay the same, all right? And just like I was telling you guys in class, and I've said it before in a previous video, when you're adding numbers and they have the same sign, you add them together and keep the sign. So if they were both positive, then your answer is going to be positive, right? You're adding 2 positive numbers, it's getting more positive. If you're adding 2 negatives, it gets more negative, right? If you spend $5, then $4, you've spent $9. You're not getting $9, you spent it. So that's why it's negative, okay? Now, this is not the only way you can solve this. Of course, we could use a number line, right? We can use our counters. Whatever's going to be helpful for you. right? And so let's go ahead and use our counters. All right, I'm gonna make some little counters. So I have -5, right? And you want to use something and label it how you want to. If you want to use the T chart with the plus and minus, you can. And I'm going to go ahead, because I have the function of having a red marker, I'm going to go ahead and mark my negative ones, right? So I have 5 red counters that I want to make. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And that's going to represent my -5. Okay, that's the first one. Now the second number was -4, is -4. So now I'm going to make 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. So from here, how many negative counters do I have? How many negative counters do I have total? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 negative counters, right? So we still get -9 using this method, okay? So like I said, this is another method you can use to solve these problems. All right, so yeah, we can also use a number line to solve this equation, right? So let's go ahead and do that. I want to set it up closer. I'm going to use this line that we have here, and I'm going to set it up closer, the 0, closer to the right, because I know it's a negative answer, right? And we want to prove that it's a negative answer. So this one would actually be 1, right? Because this is the positive side, and the left side of 0 is our negative side, right? So I'm going to go ahead and make some tally marks. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, that's a kind of a big jump. And like I said, it's not going to be perfect, right? And it doesn't have to be. It's just whatever you want it to be, right? It's something that's going to look good to you or appealing to you, right? So I'm going to start at 0, and I'm going to show us going backwards, right? First, we're going to go -5. So we want to go backwards -5, or -5 units, right? So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? This represents my -5. Now, fortunately, I have the ability to change the color of my ink, or the digital ink. Um, so when you're doing it, it's okay if it's all same color. I will be able to tell what you're doing. Okay. So now we have our next number, right? We want to add -4. So we're going to end up going more negative 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? This represents our -4. So as you can see, we still end up at -9, right? Even if we use the number line. And if you want to do this on your assignment, you want to use the number line to show it, and then just make sure you have your dot and circle your answer, right, on your page. You can do that. If you want to use the absolute value, you want to use the counters or tally marks, that's perfectly fine. All right. I want you to be comfortable in solving these equations and getting your correct answers. All right. That's always the most important thing, right? Is doing what is most beneficial for us in solving these equations, right? The easiest way for us to solve them. Okay. So whichever method is easier for you in this section, use that. Okay. If you need to use the number line, go for it. If you can just see it and say, okay, they're both negative and I'm adding them together, I'm going to add them and keep the sign. That's fine too. All right. Eventually, you guys are all going to work yourselves up and be able to do that. And I know you will. All right. So I hope this video was helpful to you. We'll discuss it in class, the work in class. And I hope you guys are doing well. And as always, take care.